since Mr. George has been in that role for 2 years, a lot of this is just actually identifying what his roles are. A lot of these are not actually new duties, so we've been kind of giving a discounted rate on the service he's been providing the community since he's been here.
Well, thank you very much. WIS came back with a recommendation to reclassify this as a Pat B non-exempt. PAC members, do you have any questions or comments about this WIS recommendation?
I think we're still dealing with, looks like we're dealing with technical issues here.
Yeah,
Oh, TS.
Do we know that do we know that the audio is working?
he said
Yes,
in
it is.
chat.
It
Okay,
is, okay.
can you change it so that, you are not the main screen on this end? It should be whoever's speaking should be popping up. And how do I turn on the, whoops, didn't mean to do that. The closed captioning.
View in the top right corner of the screen, there should be a little view button. You might switch to gallery or speaker view so whoever's speaking shows up.
There we go. And then,
Captions is at the bottom.
well, I did that. I've done that several times. There, live. Okay.
They change on you when you're not in full screen.
All right,
Yeah.
is closed captioning picking up what I'm saying? It is.
Now, okay.
All
Sorry
right.
about that.
I'm gonna do a really quick recap that we heard from the surveyor's office regarding a PAC reclassification to a Pat B non-exempt for the survey technician. Michelle, can you?
Oh, sorry.
All right,
Too many mice.
PAC members, any comments or questions for the surveyor's office about the WIS recommendation? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Move we forward the updated position description and classification as a Pat B non-exempt to the council.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Hearing a motion and a second, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Thank you, surveyor's office.
Thank you. I'll make sure I'm on this table.
Thanks for coming in. All right, next, we have the Youth Services Bureau. We've got Vanessa Schmidt with us, and we are reviewing yet another WIS recommendation, this time for a data specialist. What's going on here?
Thank you. So, kind of similar to the surveyor's office, we received the WIS recommendation back, came back as a Pat B non-exempt for our data specialist. We feel comfortable with that and would like to ask that that be moved to council.
All right, we've got that same WIS recommendation for Pat B non-exempt. PAC members, do you have any questions or comments for the Youth Services Bureau?
No, I mean, we discussed this at length at the last meeting, and you know, that's, I know it was desired to come in as a higher classification, but it is what it is, so.
All right, any other comments or questions? In that case, I'll entertain a motion.
If we forward the let's see, the Youth Services Bureau
Data specialist.
data specialist position to the council. Updated position description and the classification as Pat B non-exempt.
Second.
Hearing a motion and a second, is there further discussion or conversation? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it unanimously. You're welcome. All right, next, we have the Health Department, and we have Ms. Lori Kelly joining us on Zoom for yet another WIS recommendation, this time for a behavioral health and wellness coordinator. Ms. Kelly, what's going on here?
Hi, so this was sent through the WIS review process for a new position to help support services under our new core service requirements for health departments. I'm not really sure where I go from here, whether I'm just requesting this to be approved to move on to council. So just looking for some guidance with that.
Sure. The WIS recommendation is that it be classified as a Pat C non-exempt. PAC members, do you have any comments or questions for Ms. Kelly at this point?
Do you know which, is this gonna be funded out of the 1161 or which, the new?
Yes, yes, and that is what I have already planned for in the budget for it to be used with that new funding.
Okay, so, and what did you use? What classification did you use in the existing budget?
So I used a Pat B, so that will need to be adjusted, but we have plenty of room to make adjustments for that, so no concerns on the funding side.
I'm good.
You look like you have something to say.
Right, I have questions regarding this budget because the auditors, I understand it, advised us not to put any levy in there for next year and to spend down what she anticipated they would have at the end of this year. Well, we approve, of course, that's a fiscal decision, but nevertheless, if this is something, I
This is
mean.
a new one. This is a new fund,
I
the
know,
1161.
but she said, do you intend this to be which budget? What,
So
at what
this-
year? What year? This year?
No, no, no. So this is
That's the question.
There you go.
according to new state regulations with the changes in the law. All new positions that are created to support new core services have to be posted for a minimum of 30 days. This would not even be allowed to be started this year, so it would be for 2024. We don't anticipate filling this role probably until February or March.
Right, I remember that now, I'm sorry.
No problem.
It's been like 2 or 3 months since I read that part, but yes.
All right, hearing no further questions or comments, can we entertain a motion, please?
Move we forward the position description for Health Department Behavioral Health and Wellness Coordinator as classified as a Pat C, non-exempt to the council.
Second,
Hearing a motion and a second to move this to council, is there any further conversation or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. All those opposed, say no. The ayes have it unanimously. Ms. Kelly, you have a second item on today's agenda, which is a request to create a new position. Looks like a public health response liaison. Can you tell us what's going on here?
Yes, so this is just a request for another new position. This will help to, again, support new core service requirements for opting in that are required of the health department. So this will help to support our school liaison services, assistance with infectious disease surveillance and data collection, be able to provide community education and outreach, be able to help assist with developing strategies to assist with maternal infant mortality rate. This position could also serve in public relations. So if I need someone to stand in for me, for example, and provide public information updates, the thought process is this position could provide that.
All right, thank you very much. Let's kick it over to PAC members now. Any comments or questions about this new position?
So is this one already in the budget as well?
Correct. Yes.
It is, okay. Sorry, all I care, I know we're not supposed to do fiscal, but that's all I care about.
Ms. Hawk, do you have any questions or comments? If looks could kill. All right, there are no comments or questions. Just real quick, it does look like the questionnaire has been submitted to the council administrator. Anything that you want to draw out to our attention at this point?
No, I just need direction on how to move forward.
All right, county legal, any guidance?
Miss Lori, has the health board already approved or discussed this position?
Yes, so this was months and months ago. I honestly can't remember, but this was discussed when we were trying to discuss a path forward for our school liaison services and how that we could potentially expand the duties within that job description. Under the grant that we are currently in with our school liaison, the school liaison is only able to provide those services. But once we move into the Health First funding, the services could expand. So this is more of a long-term strategy that we are looking at and that we discussed with the health board.
Lori, this is Kim, and so will we need the school liaison position then moving forward? If this one, it goes through and is classified?
I don't think we yet know. I think we're kind of waiting to see how things will kind of transition. Currently we are contracting those services. It's working very well because our nurse is able to, or that position is able to support our nurses. We also have a lot of schools, so having an assistance and backup is a good thought process to be able to support our school liaison, but I don't see the need to have 2 full-time school liaisons. So I think it's unknown at this point, the long-term direction that we will go.
Ms. Kelly, everything in here is in direct response to Senate Bill 4, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Well, it is
Well, so
is it? Yeah, okay.
not every single duty is directly related to the new changes with the law, but many of these are. In addition, this position really could help us with the public relations assistance that I think I need, especially when we are dealing with emergency response situations. So this position would really be able to help support those efforts.
Okay, so that public information officer piece is the extra to what Senate Bill 5 laid out, correct?
Correct, and to be able to help communicate and coordinate with our key stakeholders when we're dealing with public emergencies.
All right, any other questions or comments from PAC members? Hearing none, is there a motion on this item? Or we can have a conversation about a motion.
Well, I guess I want to know what Councilor Hawk's concerns are.
Well, how many public information officers do we need? How many can this county afford? It seems like every time I turn around, somebody wants their own public information person. It really, I mean, for years, that's what the department heads got paid to do. So that's
So how much of this position's time is doing what used to be done by the school liaison versus doing public information work? Do you have a sense of that? I mean, I guess it varies, if there's an emergency or not, right?
Yes, I think that it would vary. A key part of this position is also going to really be with the data collection and our infectious disease monitoring. So the data that we collect, we're going to have a lot more strict standards on what we are actually collecting and reporting on for our KPIs. And we don't have we have a nurse who does oversee that, but this was someone who will be able to spend a lot of time focused on that and collecting the data that we are then going to be required to report back to the state. So there's really multiple duties, and how the duties are being performed, I think will just fluctuate on a week to week and month to month basis. But those are consistent duties that this position would be covering, as well as doing education outreach, supporting our emergency preparedness division, working with our community partners on emergency response plans, helping to ensure that our emergency response plans in the department are up to date. We do need to look at a lot of those right now, and that's a really hefty process going through all of that. So the duties will just flex over the course of a year.
I mean, I do see that under the duties, the vast majority of the duties do seem to be more related to reporting and data, not public relations. So I do see the emphasis there. So you said that right now the school liaison function is being contracted?
Correct. Yes, it's being contracted through IU Health.
How much do we pay for that contract?
It's $65,000 is what our contract for this year is.
And so I guess maybe I didn't quite understand. Is there a chance that we could eliminate that if this position were created? Or do you really think we're gonna need both?
It is that is an option that we could be exploring. Currently, we cannot because it's grant funded.
Oh, so that's 65,000. We don't
Correct.
really pay out of pocket. That's grant funded. Okay.
Correct. And we cannot assign that person any extra duties outside of the grant.
I see.
Mhm.
So in your WIS questionnaire, you had indicated high frequency for the tracking and analyzing of public health information and infectious disease reports. Furthermore, you said there would be high frequency for responsible status reporting on local infectious disease rates, public health threats, public health emergencies, et cetera, et cetera. When this data is collected, when these data are collected, then they're reported out to the Indiana Department of Health dashboards. Is that right? Is that where the public can see those?
Yes. And so the state is actually in the process of creating new data collection where we will be required to begin submitting that. That portal isn't up and going, but yes, we will be consistently collecting data that we then report to them that I do believe is going to be on their dashboards.
Sure. So I guess my question was, this isn't going to be something that's on the Monroe County Department's Health Department's website. It's going to be something that's through the State Department.
Our information, we collect our own separate information. I don't know, they might end up having useful data that we could then share on our website versus collecting and doing our own dashboards. I think that that's to be kind of seen. So everything that we can report on, absolutely. Of course, there's some conditions that the information is suppressed, but all information that we can report to the public, yes.
And who's doing this work now?
I have the administrative assistant trying to help with it a little bit, but we don't have the capacity, and it's not currently being fulfilled, particularly to the extent that I think that we will. I work with the administrative assistant on collecting all of the annual reports and the biannual reports that go to the state. So that's something that I do with the administrative assistant, but there's not one person doing data collection.
All right, I'm satisfied.
I think for the public information officer, this would, I mean, if I am out, randomly, or there's just no one else, then this allows somebody that could, again, an option to have somebody who could step in and report this information out. If I can't be there and the health officer couldn't, for example.
Yeah, I think it needs to be stated that ideally you are the primary person to do the public information offering, just because of how public your position is.
I think technically it's the health officer and Lori is the backup to the health officer.
It's a good point. That's a great. All right, Mr. McCann.
I mean, like I said, in actually reading the duties, it's clear that the vast majority of the duties of this position are essential reporting functions, not, not public information officer kinds of functions. And that the public relations is really a kind of, I mean, it's barely thrown in there on occasion. So I'm satisfied that that's not what we're creating as a public health information position, but rather a data and reporting.
And the title of it is?
Public health liaison.
Public health response liaison.
Oh, it is? Okay,
Well-
in the documentation, it says public health liaison.
I think I had updated that, yes, just to make sure that it's more broad. I wanted it to just be a broad term.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's a
okay.
discrepancy between the WIS questionnaire and the PAC agenda request form.
Right.
So the correct term is what?
Public health liaison.
Liaison.
Okay.
I move we forward the questionnaire to WIS for the public health liaison questionnaire to WIS for classifications.
I'll second that. Hearing a motion and a second, is there any further discussion or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to send this off to WIS, please say aye.
I
All those opposed? All right,
Okay.
this motion passes 2-1. Thank you, Ms. Kelly. We will have this sent off and I think Michelle will be in contact.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, next we have the Highway Department. Lisa Ridge is here representing that department. And we have yet another WIS recommendation. WIS has been busy for us for a highway administrative assistant. What's going on here?
So we did the questionnaire, sent it to WIS. The recommendation is to move the position up one level within comment to a comment D. We're in agreement with that. We feel just with the extra duties and stuff that that position has taken off. Where it pertains to a lot of our bigger projects and stuff and expense reports for the auditor's office that's required now, so.
Great. All right, let's kick it over to PAC. Is there any comments or questions about this highway administrative assistant classified at a comment D, non-exempt?
what is the actual title? The actual title is
I think it's
Administrative.
just administrative assistant.
administrative assistant. Okay, because the WIS memo refers to a technician.
Did?
Mm-hmm.
We had sent in asking for a Pat A. But they came back and
Oh, and said it still belongs in comment.
comment, yeah, comment D.
The job description on page 43 of the packet says administrative assistant,
Right,
but you're right, the WIS memo is titled technician.
so I just want to make sure that that is the same. If you read the text of the WIS memo, that does refer to the same position, right?
It does.
It does, okay. All right, then I move we forward to the council the updated position description for highway administrative assistant with a comment D non-exempt classification.
Second.
Hearing a motion and a second, is there any further conversation? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. All those opposed, the motion carries unanimously. All right, Ms. Ridge, we have a second item on the agenda to request an amendment to position descriptions for both the highway director and highway superintendent. Walk us through.
So actually, these positions used to be the same level. We went through a kind of a reconstruction back when the superintendent retired. Then we did the WIS classifications. My position used to be an SO. That position used to be, the superintendent used to be an SO. Then it came back that we were switched to As and Bs, EXE. It was later determined that we already have another position in our organizational chart that is an EXE A. So we need to correct that organizational flow. So there's no question on who is the responsibilities, what crews, and who is the go-to person when I'm not around. So the recommendation I could come up with would be moving me back to SO, not asking for any salary changes, and moving the superintendent to the EXEB, and then that corrects the tier. I found like 4 job descriptions that would just be modified from the organizational chart for reporting purposes, no job changes, so it wouldn't have to go to WIS. And then I found a position that's not even on our organizational chart in the department. So I would try and do those corrections all at one time to just be done with it. But I think this helps with the flow, and it's actually putting the position back originally where it had been, so.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because as always, Kim Shell has included a very handy org chart, which Kim, could you minimize the participant panel, please?
Yeah, right.
Anyway, you, Ms. Ridge, you can see the highway director and highway superintendent. Let's blow this up a little bit here. There we go, in pink there. And then here is your MS4 coordinator, who's also the EXEA.
Correct,
And that's the visual representation of what you had just said. Is that correct?
correct.
All right, I'm glad I understand.
That is, yes. So yeah, basically it would just kind of lowering that tier. Not all positions are gonna change who they report to. Again, I went through all the job descriptions yesterday. There's only 4 that would change to where, and I spoke with Kim before doing this to make sure I could get this correct. When I retire, I want it to be just so anybody can look at this and know exactly where everybody falls. So I would be correcting that with this change also.
I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to retire.
36 years, I'm pretty darn close.
All right, Pac, is there any other questions or, I'm sorry, did I step on your toes there?
No,
All right, Pac, is there any other comments or questions on this item?
I've discussed this at length with Ms. Ridge, and so I'm comfortable with this moving forward. And if moving down the road, you see any hiccups, just come and help us fix it.
yeah, and there's been a lot of changes in the department over the last 4 years, so there's this, I think this will be kind of that last little fix that kind of puts everything in line. When, you know, you have 55, 60 people, it's hard to tier that, but I think this works, and we've tried it for the last few years, and it really, now it's just correcting that flow.
So really, what are we exactly being asked to approve today? Is it just the move of the highway director to SO and the move of highway superintendent to EXEB?
That's what I had presented in the packet. After talking to Kim, then we found some differences in the job descriptions below that. So I would have to send those changes to the council, not for any job duties, not for any WIS, but just to fix the organizational and basically who that person reports to correct the chart.
Okay, so I move we forward to council the recommendation to move the highway director from an EXEB to SO and the move of the highway superintendent from EXEA to EXEB.
Second.
Hearing a motion and a second, is there further conversation or questions on this item? Michelle?
My only question is, should we have WIS formally move the superintendent to an EXEB? Do we need to have that reviewed by them because of that? Or, you know, I'm not sure. I just want to make sure we're not.
This costs money and we know what we're gonna do.
Okay,
I think we want to send it to them so they have an accurate. We're not asking for a review. We're asking, but we want them to have an
Okay,
accurate
okay.
copy. of all
That's
our
what I
positions.
want to make sure. We're not sending it for a review. We're gonna make the change and then I send it to them. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Mhm.
That's what I want to make sure. So.
Any further questions or comments? County Legal, you good? All right, all of those in favor of the motion, please say aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. We'll see you at council.
So will that be council work session or November council? Is that,
I can,
it's up to
I was gonna say, I could put it on for the work session.
Okay.
If-
you. Okay, and I'll do the other 4 job descriptions to clean it all up
Yeah,
together.
and we'll,
Okay.
we'll work together on
Okay,
that. So,
thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, next, we're moving on to item number 7. We're making great time, by the way. To the clerk's office. We do not have Nicole Brown here today, but we are going to request entertaining a request for a second review of the position description for election supervisor. What's going on?
Well, Trent Deckard was supposed to be here to present this. I don't know if it's okay for me to read what.
It would be
Nicole has-
preferable for you to do that,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, so, excuse me, so greeting PAC members, with apologies for a pre-planned trip out of town. I'm not able to be at the PAC meeting. What I would hope to convey with respect to the reclassification of the election supervisor position is it not only has a role changed significantly, but so have the qualifications for whomever assumes the role. There's no room for complacency or half measures within the realm of elections. You need only to plug in any news outlet to understand the mountainous and unrelenting scrutiny surrounding elections and by extension, election results. This has impacted every entity that touches the election process. To promote security and transparency, parameters have narrowed exponentially, and the clerk's office and election employees are those who've had to absorb more responsibilities for the same salary. And this does not even touch on the increasing threats, harassment, and intimidation levied against anyone known for facilitating elections or working with those who do. While I'm not well versed in the WISP playbook or other MCG managers who've been able to successfully secure reclassification upgrades or the mathematical formulas used to do so, my 12 years of experience with elections under the previous clerk's administration as well as my own have revealed that it takes someone with project management experience serving in this role to effectively corral the many moving parts connected to overseeing elections. At a minimum, those with project management and professional experience would command double the current salary that would be for the entry level experience. Now, to get someone with more experience would command a six-figure salary. Currently, going forward, to not hire someone with project manager experience in an election director role will lead to perilous ramifications for Monroe County elections. We will get through the municipal, but 2024 and beyond raise significant red flags. There is not a qualified applicant who has reviewed the position description and felt that the salary was commensurate with what they were being asked to do, to take on. Just prior to the incumbent, the person hired for the role stayed 3 weeks and transferred to another position in Monroe County government. City of Bloomington employees with same experience won't even take the time to interview, and no one in the private sector, once they inquired about the salary, was interested despite their desire to be of service to Monroe County. Finally, while I'm committed to serving out my term, a number of other Indiana clerks have either resigned their office or are thinking about doing so. The proverbial dam is breaking. Thank you for your time and your consideration. I look forward to a positive result and favorable support from PAC and council. Signed, Nicole Brown.
Mr. Hendon, thank you for reading that. Do you have any other additional comments or questions?
I mean, the only thing, like I've been talking with Kim, I sent we went through and redid we made some changes, change it from election supervisor to election director, requesting, from a Pat B to a Pat C. And I believe, do all of them have you have a copy of this?
Of what was sent
Of what was sent.
originally,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
not,
The only change that I would make, and you and I spoke about this, under the job requirements by bachelor's degree, et cetera, by the business administration, I would add project management experience in
Yeah,
there. Add the project management experience right here, if you want.
Right.
Okay,
I
okay.
know what project management is.
So just want to add that in, but other than that, that's all that I have.
All right, thank you very much. I will, before kicking me off to PAC, just note that in the agenda, we do have a notation that on June 13th, the council approved WIS conducting a desk audit of the election supervisor position due to the difficulty of retaining employees mentioned in the letter. And on July 12th, a Zoom meeting was conducted between WIS and the chief deputy. Following the audit, WIS forwarded a description to the clerk for review, and the clerk is requesting to amend the title and update the description, which we have before us, to include the additional responsibilities and education requirements. So this is about marrying the WIS desk audit with the departmental needs. PAC members, do you have any questions for the clerk's office?
Okay, so what we're seeing here is not a red line version of the existing description. It's a red line version of WIS's output from the desk audit.
correct,
Okay, so the existing job description is a Comet, right?
correct.
And it's what, Comet, what level?
C, I think,
It is, yeah.
Okay,
Which is stupid.
right, I think we all agree that it's, that it should not be a Comet.
Yes.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. I was like, there aren't that many changes here, but I understand we're not looking at it versus the
right,
existing.
yes,
positions.
WIS sent a job description after they did the desk audit, which was then forwarded to Clerk Brown for her review, and so those are edits on top of that
Okay.
desk audit
Got it.
review.
Okay.
What did, I'm sorry, I just couldn't bring my laptop. What did WIS suggest that it be?
They haven't yet because it has not gone back.
Well, that's why I don't know.
Right, that's why we don't know yet, because we were still waiting
We're
on
in the
those
process
edits.
of trying to get job description right.
Correct.
Got it, okay.
My question to Michelle, we had the department just now asked to insert additional language. Do we do that through a motion or do you do that before you send it off to WIS?
However you want, I don't need a motion to make those changes. I just, if you want to say, you know, as edited, you know.
I move that we forward to the council, or I'm sorry, that we forward to WIS for classification. The updated job description for the election director, including the statement on project management requirements.
Now, the project management is only something that would be nice, but not required. Correct. Okay, I second.
All right, hearing a motion and a second. Is there any other conversation about this before we hand it off to WIS? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it unanimously.
Thank you very much for your time.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Did you forward to me the new language,
I believe I did so, but if not, I'll send it over to you as soon as I get back.
or
to
you
the
just
office.
have Courtney make a copy real quick?
Okay,
Thank
okay.
you.
All right.
So Kim is the one you're gonna work with. She'll get everything taken
All
care of.
right, I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you for coming in.
Oh, no.
That's a good thing that I'm.
All right, next, we have our jail and correctional center here represented by Mr. Kyle Gibbons and Mr. Jordan Miller. I
And
presume,
Phil.
and yes, and Phil Parker, and I presume that you two are gonna be presenting today?
Colonel Harper will be.
Excellent.
I'm probably taking the brunt of it. That usually happens to me, so.
You're going to be engaging us in friendly conversation, is that what you said?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, and today you are requesting to create new positions. Can you tell us what this is all about?
Well, yeah, first I want to clarify what we're trying to do here, and then, based on what we decide here, I think this will take about 3 minutes, or it could take an hour. So, it just kind of depends on the way we go here. I talked with Molly about this a little bit. I'm not sure I've done a real good job of communicating what our intent here is. I brought the books that we should be familiar with here, the fun this. The transition team. So here's what we're looking at. A transition team must be employees who are familiar with the operations of the jail facility, the policies of a jail facility, how the layout of a jail should work so that it functions in a manner that we need it to. Almost exactly the opposite of what we're currently occupying. It would be a pretty good base. So the transition team will come from employees who are currently hired and currently working in the facility, experienced officers. So what we're not asking is to create positions for transition team members. What we're asking to do is when we pull those people out, put on the transition team so that we can begin this monstrous project in front of us, that will leave a vacancy, a void of corrections officers there to do the corrections officer's job. That is what we're asking for, is to create 8 additional entry-level corrections officers positions to fill the void when the transition team members are selected out of our current staff and go to the transition team. So first off, my first question to you, I question whether this is even a PAC issue. It is not. I believe that this is a straight up fiscal issue that should be a budgetary discussion with the council. So we've already got the job description. We know what this is. So my question to you is, what's the best step to take here? And I prepared. I got up at 1:30 this morning, grabbed a notepad and a pen and started writing. And I don't think any of you want to hear it. So what I'm trying to do here is figure out how can we clarify what we're trying to do here? Because we're in October. Yeah, we started this in January on a basic level. Pony train was in July. The jail build's coming we're, according to everybody we talked to at this training, we're already behind the curve on the transition team. It should have been up and running in the design phase. So where do we go to make this happen? What do you need from us? What can we help you with? That's my question.
All right, so I saw Ms. Hawk's hand first, then I saw Mr. McKim's hand. We're eager to talk with you.
Great.
I found it very interesting when I heard what a suggestion was from Jeff Poplar. I don't know whether you've heard the suggestion or not, and this may or may not work, but it looks to me like it would be a great starting point. Because the people that you need fill your slots that would be vacant will be correction officers. The people who will go over to correction, to the transitional team will be correction officers.
Correct.
You might even choose some to come over for some of this training and go, well, that's not working out so well. I'm going to take another one, send them back to the correction officers.
I fully anticipate the team we start with will not be the team we finish with.
Okay, so it seemed to me that when it was suggested that you have a line item and a budget amount for the extra duties of the transition team, then that gives us something to budget for. And we don't need a job description for that. They're going to need, we don't know what they're going to need, and they don't really. They'll learn about this as they go. But if we have a budget line and you could like maybe pay it out by quarters or something of that sort. I don't know how you work out payroll, but you have an expert here on how to work payroll. And make sure that whichever one that you choose will get that extra bump while they're working to transition. Then if that doesn't work out, they go right back onto your staff and you get somebody else that does from your team. In other words, all your correction officers are your team, and you'll pick out the ones you think will work best for the job you need as
Wait,
you move along.
so,
What is that?
so are you saying that they would actually get more pay, higher pay than they would normally get?
Just like, okay, go through the budget and figure out other things.
Let me
like-
lay the background for that if you don't mind.
Hold on, one second. So let's let Colonel Parker reply, and then we'll come over to staff, okay?
So the philosophy of this is, first off, what we're talking about here is completely separate from creating these new positions to fill in when these people leave. I want to make that distinction. We can't lose sight of, we have to, if we're going to have a transition team, which I strongly recommend we do, and I'm prepared to talk about what will happen if we don't. But the creation of these positions to fill in for the transition team when they go to these duties, that's what we're here to discuss today. Now, let's move on to the transition team themselves. We've selected these 8 people. They're the ones that we're looking at. What the conversation Jeff and I had, and I think Molly will throw into this, included in the collective bargaining agreement is, for example, we have individuals in our jail that are investigators. We have individuals in our jail that are training officers. And they receive a slight increase in their hourly rate, correct me if I'm wrong, if I misspeak, when they're fulfilling that role. If one day investigator Jordan says, I'm really done doing this investigator stuff, he goes right back, boom, his salary goes back. That's the concept we're talking about. So when they come over, they're on a transition team, the contract is built so that they receive that, I'll use the word stipends, probably not the right word, but that slight increase to their hourly rate while they're serving. And while I got the floor here, let's talk about job descriptions a little bit. When these folks, when we are running our daily operations, I think one of the photos I showed you of one of our corrections officers cleaning feces off the wall with a toilet brush. I don't know if you remember seeing that.
No.
That wasn't in the job description, okay? That's not the way it works in real life. A job description is a nice little document that kind of lays the baseline. But when we're moving someone to go do something temporarily, that's going to be a very fluid, I just don't want us to get caught up and bogged down in this minutia of building a job description for a, if we have to, we will. I won't say we won't, but I think it's completely something that's not germane to the urgency of the moment. We'll work with it if we must. So if I'm covering the bases here, and I can stay out of my handwritten notes, everybody's gonna be better for it. And I'll turn the floor to you, Mr. McKinney, because I know you've had questions about that.
Well, it sounds like,
Yeah.
Molly had
Let's,
something she wanted to.
the county legal, do you have questions or comments?
I was just going to say exactly what, Chief Parker just said, which was, at one point, this was included in the collective bargaining agreement. So that the officers serving on the transitional team would receive, an additional amount on the hour while they were serving on the transitional team, and I was trying to find the version of the contract that has it in there, but it's changed so many times that I can't find the correct version.
So can I go to Mr. McKim while you're looking?
Yeah, so in general, I guess I don't see it as a PAC issue at all. We're not talking about changing any position
agree.
descriptions at all. And I'm fine with the solution, creating a budget line item that would be used to pay whatever the stipend is for them serving. You know, my big challenge is once again, it's fiscal, and I know that's not really a PAC. I mean, we're already like extending out to, I think, the max of where we possibly can. I don't know where we're gonna get money this year, or this year being 2024 for 8 new positions. I don't have it. There's no way I could, I don't know where it would be. We could certainly do it for 2025. We could increase the corrections tax, but that's not available now. So
Well, at the risk of sounding different, if we're going to build this jail, if we were going into this jail saying, okay, we want to build a new jail, but we don't have the funding, and I know about the different plots and everything, but just follow the layman's perspective. We don't have the funding to hire an architect. We don't have the funding to buy the land. We don't have the funding to pour the concrete or to set up the structure or to put the plumbing in it, the electricity. The transition team is no less important to us. If we can't fund that, then are we having the right discussion here?
yeah.
Without a transition team, I will tell you this. Anybody who was at that training will tell you the facility, the end product that we are going to live with for 30 years will not pass muster. It won't. And I can also throw something, and this is in my notes. I wanted Matt and to be here. The sheriff is dealing with a personal issue who really wanted to be here. But let's assume they're sitting in these chairs. There's over 100 years of law enforcement and corrections experience sitting in those chairs. When this jail build comes, and it sounds like it's coming, and I think it needs to come, that will not take away the responsibilities that the sheriff, Matt, have to run the current facility. I would love to be able to sit and say, we can do both for you. The flat out answer is we can't, because what we can't do is do transition by day and our.
Right, and I totally understand that.
And
I'm looking at math more
Yes.
than, I understand the argument you're making.
And
I'm
math is real.
I'm also concerned that, I mean, one of the ways to deal with that is to not spend a lot of money on land acquisition. But I'm already sensing the commissioners backing away from the Thompson property. I mean, I thought we were moving ahead with the Thompson property, and all I hear is, oh, we're just beginning the conversation. We're not deciding it. Are we moving forward on this location or not?
Right.
And if we are, that is the best way to not be spending, for example, all this edit money that maybe we could carve out a bit for the transition team if we're not also spending it on $10 million worth of property acquisition.
Let me throw something else at you.
And I know I'm ranting, not about you.
No, I get it. Believe me, what I'm concerned about. I brought my little prop with me. That is the private settlement agreement. We all know about it. It's bearing down on us like a freight train. I think the date is February of 2024, when this thing, the agreement becomes null and void. I believe that to be the case. I'm not a legal expert. Molly could probably speak to it better than me. But as we're moving forward with this project and we're falling behind on what we need to do to get stood up on it, that gap is getting farther and farther and farther apart. And we've done an awful lot of talking around here, and I think we all know that. At some point, someone's gonna have to pull a pin here, and we're gonna have to go forward. And I know exactly what you're saying here, but let me offer this. And I'm doing this, the sheriff and I had about an hour conversation this morning and about a 2-hour conversation last night about this meeting. And I'm glad we're all kind of agree that this is really a PAC issue. But I thought it's the best forum to us to come together and agree that it's not a PAC issue. But this is what we didn't discuss. We touched on this a little bit. Marty brought it up. We don't know exactly what this is going to look like. This is all unknown territory for all of us. That includes the transition team. So when we were tasked with, hey, what do you need after we got with the pony train? We sat around and I went through the pony train and I went through all of the different phases of a jail build. And there are all of these different things that the transition team is going to be responsible for. That's how we came up with the number of 8. I will tell you this. I hope that we can work together as the sheriff's office. Maybe we can parry that down to 6, but maybe we can parry that down to 7. I don't know what the perfect answer is to that, but I will tell you this. We will ask for no more than we think we absolutely need to make it work. I don't know if that means anything to you all or not. We're not dug in about we've got to have this, we've got to have it now, and it's got to be this way. We understand the fluidity of the situation and the unknowns of the situation, but my concern is get moving. If we're going forward with this site or any site, we better get moving.
To that point, I want to offer some collaborative reassurance.
Yes, sir.
Number 1, there is no scheduled meeting for the CJRC or the JFAC. I think we're done talking.
Correct.
DLZ is moving forward on the next steps. We're barreling towards design. That's where we're headed. In that sense, I think this is the perfect time to be talking about transition team. I don't think we're behind. I think we are exactly where we need to be talking about a transition team, because we don't have a schematic yet. We don't have design elements yet. It's a good time to be talking about this. I think the second thing I'll make a point is I think that this conversation deserves to have the full complement of the council discussing it. It is a fiscal matter. I agree with Mr. McKim, and it would be so helpful to have the full council discussing this with you. And the last thing I will say is transition team in the Pony manual has its own chapter.
Yes.
This is important. I don't think anybody disagrees with you. At least I will say, I am fully on board with the idea of a transition team. We need one. We need to be successful in this. And I think a transition team is going to be important. But we need to take it to council to see what that looks like and what we can actually afford.
Well, and I think it's more than council. I think we need Jeff Cockrell in there because he's been involved most with the bond and with the edit tax. And that's the only funding source I see as a possibility for the first year.
I agree.
But I mean.
Well, and Jeff and I have talked about, there'll be a director too that leads this team. And we've talked about possibly paying the director via contract out of ARPA.
Okay.
Right.
Because I'm just thinking, in future years, and I know Marty doesn't like hearing this, but we can always raise the corrections tax.
But you know what? I have always thought that when we got to the point that we would have to. Now, do I think we should raise it to 0.2?
No, right. No, but I'm saying that is
But
our one.
what I've already discussed is if this transition team actually is needed in order to move forward with the dream of a new corrections facility, then it isn't like that this money is going to be wasted. And it should all be under the sheriff. This correction, you see what I'm saying? all of the dollars for, and job description that's going to be handled in the jail should be under the sheriff. No one else should be in charge of what's going to go on in the jail.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I'm talking about
Right.
funding sources.
Right,
and-
so then I'm saying, well, why wouldn't that question now, am I saying raise it through the roof? No, you know, I hate new taxes. And the whole point in moving that over to begin with was so that it would stay even. Do we have any other tax setting out there that is not needed that we could move it? I do not know.
And this sounds like a great conversation for council.
But I think that I guess what I'm trying to
He's
get
trying to
at,
get out of here.
what I'm trying to get at though, is that there is a short-term funding issue and there's a long-term funding issue, and the long-term funding issue is easier in some ways than the short, than
Yes.
the
So
short. term.
if,
Yeah.
were we not for, thinking that we could cover such things as a transition team or whatever when we were first discussing edit money? That, but I do agree, this is all a financial decision,
Yeah,
but,
sorry.
but they
I know
come
we're
to
kind of
us
getting into
talking about new positions
Mhm.
and job descriptions, and so that's how we got to where this discussion is. And we all know it's bearing down on us tonight.
Well,
We have 1 minute before Mr. McKim needs to leave this meeting, and out of deference, I want to give the last word to you. We have 1 minute.
Okay, this will be very quick. The director's position, Molly mentioned, is the key to starting it all. That person, I think, needs to be involved very, very quickly. I'm telling you, we've got about 4 names, 4 people that we are prepared to reach out to and begin those discussions with. Never know where they're gonna go, but I think we need to get started on that one post haste, because then we can get them involved. And when at least we can have a liaison to that, then we can start building on that. So we'll start making those contacts, but I wanted to let you know that where
and
we're.
the thought is to do that as a contract.
Next week to start like laying out the scope of work for the contract, so we can start piecing together a contract.
That'd be great.
And we have an additional comment.
Just while I have a seat at this table, can I advocate for, if these employees are not changing their job description, not changing their hourly rate, can the addition of the pay be a flat rate in line with the other specialty pays rather than?
I looked at the contract, what it had said was that they will receive 24 cents more on the hour when they're on the transitional team, so it'll be included, it will be included in their hourly rate.
And I guess what I'm asking is if it's possible for that to be a flat rate like the other specialty pays rather, no.
No, all these specialty pays are about to go to an hourly rate.
Yeah, that was the State Board of Accounts,
Yeah,
right?
they're all-
Was that because
Well,
of that?
It's statute
Oh,
and
statute.
SA.
All right,
That was it.
this is an agenda item on the PAC agenda. Do we need a motion to forward this to council, or should we have the sheriff's department simply work with Michelle to get on the agenda?
We can do that. We can work with Michelle.
Sure.
That's okay. Just real quick, item number 9, the summary minutes for September 5th are included. Are there any changes? Hearing none, they are approved by acclamation. This meeting is adjourned.